climb streams, Murloc Paladin is 100% kind of there for most players.
And there it is, the Murloc Paladin. But Primal Fin Lookout being a key inclusion there from Mysterious. It has been added kind of in and out by people. It's been tried, it's been tested, but it hasn't really been up there in the best decks that have seen a lot of success. So it'll be interesting to see whether that is going to be an important factor in this game. Well,
you can see the Stonehill Defender, you see the Outdoor Peacekeeper. Maybe he's really running for a more value-heavy mid-range Paladin here, because you assume Outdoor comes through in the mid-range deck. Stonehill can get huge amounts of value for Paladins because of how many great Taunt minions they've got as a class card. So yeah, I think this is maybe more leaning towards a mid-range, value-heavy lineup here for Mysterious.
And it looks like it's going to be going up against the Gunther Mage, or the Gunther Mage of TingTing as well. Looks like a Gluttonous Ooze is a tech indecision, which has kind of been... There's like 4 cards in this Mage list that have kind of been in and out. We've also seen Meteor been included just to try and take down some of those massive minions as well.
Reynad ran 2 of those in his list, actually.
Exactly. Sometimes you just need to get rid of those big threats on the board, and then you can just jam as much damage as you want to their face later on. And what I love about this deck list is that it's, for me, it's kind of like Freeze Mage's little brother. It's a little bit more exciting, a little bit more crazy. You can kind of start things off with Mana Worm, and you've got Sorcerer's Apprentice as well. You get that early board, but then you discover all these spells to try and finish them off.
I always feel like this is a little bit like Aggro Mage, Freeze Mage, and Tempo Mage all chucked into a pot, and then you pull the rest of it out. Whatever the result of mixing those 3 decks together, you kind of get this deck. It kind of feels like that to me, because with the Mana Worm inclusion, you can pop off from turn 1. Then you've got the likelihood of playing the more burn-orientated game. And then obviously you have the freeze elements as well, with a lot of people saying putting both Ice Barrier and Ice Block in there, trying to play it with the Alexstrasza a bit more like a Freeze Mage. So I just think this is a really interesting deck, and it's definitely found success, especially at DreamHack.
Neither player's really getting their opening game.
No.
Taunt decisions now for Mysterious aren't the best
they're all pretty terrible, I'm not going to lie.
I'm not seeing any advantage from taking anything, to be honest. Maybe the Warden just to try and keep some form of board presence, but the Poison seems like the optimal play in the end. But as I was saying, neither has got that starting crazy element. Mysterious didn't get his early Murlocs to put onto the board, and TingTing didn't get the Mana Worms and the Sorcerer's Apprentice. I think that does play into the favour of the Mage, to be honest.
Yeah, because we know that this Mage, with the Alexstrasza, can play like a Freeze Mage. And there is very limited healing in this Paladin deck list. You've got True Silver Champion. I would be surprised if he is including Ivory Knight. So True Silver Champion generally probably the only form of healing here. Maybe a Lay on Hands if he's playing a super control-heavy version, but I just doubt that's the case. So you can, with the slower start, it's going to favour TingTing, because if he can get to a point where he Alexstrasza's offensively, he has the burn damage available, then he's in the stronger position.
Yeah, TingTing will be rubbing his hands together, to be honest, at the lack of a start from Mysterious. And he's already got that Alexstrasza in hand. I guess he doesn't have too much burn at the moment, but the fact that you can just generate it so consistently from, well, not consistently, I guess it is rather random when you use things like Babbling Book and the Cabal Courier as well. Sometimes discovering another Ice Block can win you games as well, because they'll play around the 2, and if that 3rd one is there, it can certainly surprise them and catch them off guard.
One thing TingTing is kind of lacking on right now is both stall and board clear. So he doesn't really have any freezes, he doesn't really have any flame strikes jotting around, and we can see with Mysterious's hand, especially with the Sunkeeper Tarim on deck to use, he could potentially just build a very strong board over these next few turns and then just start jamming damage to face with little to no response for TingTing right now. That's the only worry I think there is for TingTing. Otherwise, the game at this point in time is, he's made it through the first 4 turns while taking 1 damage to face. This is exactly where he'll want to be, especially with Alexstrasza in hand, knowing that there is limited healing for Mysterious.
Yeah, TingTing could do with a Courier or maybe a Glyph as well, just to start searching for those spells, getting that Discover element, having that pick and the free choice of finding something that's going to work out and be able to help you move on in the game as well.
But also remember that we have the Tyrion in hand already for Mysterious. That can win games by itself. It's such a strong card for Paladin that it actually in a lot of cases can just straight up win the game. So I don't think Mysterious is in a particularly awful position, but definitely would have loved to have popped off with Valfin Inquisitor and then running off with War Leader and trying to gain board momentum early on.
And that's some more of the early game just being drawn there. Arcanologist, of course, drawing Secrets. 2 of his Secrets already in his hand, so it does mean that he will be drawing that Ice Barrier. Usually they're only running 1, so I'd be encouraged to play this turn so you get some value out of it.
But not only that, you're going to then thin your deck out. You're going to get rid of that ice barrier so there's not a dud draw when your turn comes around. So playing it now, you've got a pretty nice follow-up of ice block if you want to. You also have the option of whatever else you can coin out. I guess the frostbolt as well as pinging as well. So he looks like he's trying to deal with the board more than anything. So this was the direct board clear here. Obviously, he's only punished if he draws Ice Barrier next turn, which is a pretty low chance. So this way, he's now got complete control of the board again, and now he's asking questions of Mysterious, not allowing Sunkeeper Tarim coming down on 6 as well, which is the major thing.
I think that was the main thought for him with that line of play was, it's turn 6, what's my biggest punish here? Let's just get rid of this board nice and easily whilst I can. And then we see the Lookout now. Just discovering yet another wall leader that may help. The Polymorph is a nice draw for TingTing. Can deal with this wall leader very comfortably, along with a ping as well, allowing him to trade one of those Mana Worms in and still keeping this board control and just still holding this Paladin back from gaining any real value.
Or he could coin out Firelance Portal, unless he wants to hold the coin for Alexstrasza, which he doesn't really have the burn in hand right now, so I don't think he necessarily needs to. He could coin out Firelance Portal and then just trade one of those Mana Worms in, passively. Trade your 2-1 in, gets rid of it, you have the board again, you have a 5-cost minion as well as your 3/3 Mana Worm. I think that's a pretty solid play.
Saving the Polymorph for a possible Tyrion coming down is, of course, a very valuable plan as well, so I can agree with this.
I discounted the coin for 3 Mana Worm, even better.
Even better. I think you trade this one as well. TingTing's having a little thought about it. I can understand why you might want to go face, just because it is 4 damage and that could be very valuable when it comes to getting your burn spells later. However, you don't want to be playing into the buffs that Murlocs can so easily receive.
You have Alexstrasza. You might as well play the board control game here. You play around things like Equality Consecrate, which Mysterious has in hand. It's the safer play. And when you have the fact that in 3 turns' time, you're basically going to be doing 15 damage to face, or rather a little bit less than that, but you're going to be doing a lot of damage to face with Alexstrasza. Unless you think you can kill him over the turns until you get Alexstrasza, or you can take him below 15 HP, it's probably better to take the trade.
So the early game minions from Mysterious now finally being drawn.
a little bit late.
So he could just play the Tide Cooler, followed by the Rockpool Hunter and the Murloc Wall Leader as well, just to try and get as much of a board presence as possible.
Yeah.
Hope that some of it survives, and then you've got Sunkeeper Tarim to follow up, or Tyrion as a backup plan if all of it does get cleared. Of course, something like a Flame Strike, as well as the minions, would be very devastating for Mysterious right now. But that Wall Leader will pump those Murlocs up to a nice and juicy total.
Do you think you can afford to? I mean, he looks like he really wants to play around the Flame Strike, actually. I think that is something that he is worried about. Double Arcanologist now. And actually, there aren't many other good options in TingTing's hand. He can play the Arcanologist, it'll start to thin the deck out, and then he might look to develop just one of the Ice Blocks or the Ice Barriers from the back of this as well. He's probably saving Gluttonous Ooze for Tyrion, knowing that that's likely in Mysterious's list. So this seems like a good way to sort of start things off. He can ping off that 1/1 as well, and then maybe look to make some trades. I
think he might even save the Gluttonous Ooze for just a True Silver, considering that Polymorph is in the hand. It would be
true.
There was so much value just to Polymorph, Polymorph Tyrion and just get rid of it. But I guess it does a similar situation. If you could trade off cleanly and get rid of Tyrion and then play the Ooze, very similar style of play.
I actually completely forgot about Polymorph, even though I mentioned it like 3 turns ago. That's how my memory works, Danny. It's like a sieve.
And that's why these players are so good, because they have to be on the ball. Need to know exactly what's in their hand.
And this is why I'm not a player, just a caster. And I should get sacked.
No, you shouldn't. Now, that minion is actually really annoying for Mysterious. A 4/6 taunt on board, of course it does just drop, as the creepers do, is something that Mysterious is really struggling to plow through here. I guess you've got an option of double Consecrate here.
You could double Consecrate, but you could just Equality Consecrate.
Oh, yeah.
Like I mean...
That's a card.
How much worse would the board have to get before you think you're going to get value out of Equality Consecrate, especially versus this Mage deck? The only other time I think you could potentially save Equality for is Alexstrasza, but I think Equality Consecrate makes sense here because this is a pretty big board, and with a 4/7 on board that's very difficult for you to get through, it's probably your best opportunity to use that combo.
Yep, completely missed the Equality for me.
Don't worry, I missed the Polymorph.
That's alright, okay, we're 1-1 now.
We're 1-1.
We'll be alright. We'll get there in the end.
We always get there, buddy.
So, The TingTing's still in a really comfortable position, though. He'll be more than happy that Mysterious hasn't been able to just roll away and snowball out of control. You've got Alex coming up turn 9 if you want to use it. Okay, he doesn't have the insane amount of burn, but he hasn't had any of his Medivh's Valets either, so that is another 3 damage that could come out from a minion, possibly. I suppose he'd be looking for fireballs instead. Pyroblast is usually an inclusion in this deck as well that will just help to finish the game off when it's drawn later on.
He's not had any of his Discover spells yet, so had no glyphs, hasn't had any of his Babbling Books for the random spell either.
No Couriers either.
Yeah, no Couriers, nothing. So he's got plenty of options still left in his deck to generate that burn. And there is no pressure right now. He's got the answer to Tyrion in his hand. There is not really an excellent board for a Sunkeeper Tarim. Even though he doesn't have the board clear available, he's not exactly contending with an incredibly strong board at this point in time. There's plenty of time for TingTing to generate the time that he needs, and he just saw an Equality, Dan. How many copies of Equality do you generally see Paladins run these days? It tends to be 1. People tend to run just 1 Equality. I do sometimes see two Equalities, which generally tends to be better in a control-heavy meta, so we might see that evolve. But you can probably pretty safely play your Alexstrasza and think that there's very little way that he can answer this.
Of course, Polymorph is really the only line of play. I don't think anyone else would have disagreed with that, and then Medivh's Valet can follow up to either clear board or just to put more damage to face. I'd be happy with either, but why not just keep control of this board and then, again, just ask a question of Mysterious, and then you know you've got your follow-up of Alexstrasza.
Why? Yeah, I think that the option for clear there, Dan, is why give him any value from Sunkeeper Tarim at all?
Exactly.
Why give him any value? Why make it even a slightest possible chance that Sunkeeper Tarim can come down? He's seen you holding this left card in your hand the entire game. He probably knows that that's a card that is situational, like Sunkeeper Tarim in a lot of situations. And obviously Sunkeeper Tarim is better when you have a charge minion, i.e. a minion that you've already got ready to attack, because you can get immediate value with it. So I think as the more that TingTing can clear board, the more that he plays around something like Sunkeeper Tarim. The only thing you would hold Sunkeeper Tarim on for, and I forgot to mention this, is obviously Alexstrasza. Because you can then deal with an 8-8 into a 3-3, and that's probably why you're seeing Mysterious hold on to it as well, because he knows that Alexstrasza is a big deal that he will have to deal with, and he doesn't have an Equality anymore. The easiest way is probably with the Sunkeeper. And
the amount of value that's in TingTing's deck right now, and well, in his hand as general, is why he hasn't been playing Alexstrasza. He just hasn't needed to. He hasn't needed to like kind of hit that panic button. Of course, Ooze can come down to take down the True Silver. Medivh's Valet coming off the top as well means that you can use Frostbolt and Medivh's Valet to clean up the majority of this board. It's whether he wants to just leave the 1-1. He has been playing around Sunkeeper Tarim a lot in this game. So by leaving just a 3-3 on board, or actually I think it'll be a 2-3 when it, a 2-2, sorry, when it loses health, then he's not getting as much value if he had just left the 1-1 on board, for example.
It's my favorite card! Wicker Spark Bumberding.
Of course.
Wicker Flame Burn Bristle.
Of course, you do know his name. If people don't know, Kiernan famously got that name wrong during a very popular live broadcast with Blizzard. But he's learned his lesson.
I thought it was a great moment.
It was a great moment.
It was a bonding moment for both of us.
Certainly will go down in my books of funniest casting moments, that's for sure.
Me too, actually. I think it was the way you handled it as well was like, what the earth did you just say?
Yeah, I wasn't letting you get away with that one. Okay, so what's the line of play here for Mysterious then?
I think it has to be Wicker Blum Dingadoo. It has to be that guy. Because I think then Sunkeeper Tarim does mean you're slightly weaker to Alexstrasza now, but you're in such an awful position at this point in time. You don't really have an option. You now just have to start generating board. But TingTing's got Ice Block up. He's probably not too scared of being procced anytime soon with just 1 card in hand. And with Pyroblast and Frostbolt and Primordial Glyph, this seems like a pretty solid time to just jam the Alex.
Yep, just drop the Alex onto the board. Put your opponent to 15. I guess you could, first of all, you could kill the Wicker Flame.
First of all, you trade into the Wicker Flame, then jam the Alex.
You then put Alex in just to make sure he doesn't get the value out of it. That seems like a pretty optimal play. You're not too worried. You know he's not going to pop your block next turn. So then you could use the Frostbolt and search for more answers with the Glyph and then the Pyroblast to follow up. This should be a relatively simple victory now for TingTing. It's just a matter of playing it out. Mysterious, however, will be thinking, what are my outs? How can I possibly win this game? Do you see a way out for him? You can say no, because I don't.
No. I think the problem was, and we mentioned it at the start, is especially against this type of mage deck that has so many different styles of win conditions, and you're not really running that much heal in your deck, you needed to get the early start. You needed to put the pressure on. You needed to force TingTing to have the answers. of which we saw TingTing had some, but you leave those first 3 turns kind of going as they are. This mage, with the Alexstrasza in hand especially, is going to have all the time in the world to generate that key win condition that has the freeze mage type element to it.
Yeah, TingTing, he used those answers like Volcanic Potion, for example, on a board where if Mysterious's Murloc Paladin had gone out of control early on, that's another Pyroblast, by the way, so that's game over.
Yeah.
He might have used that Volcanic Potion or been unable to use that Volcanic Potion if those Murlocs had been raised to a health that were out
Absolutely, yeah.
of range of it.
Murloc Warlord could have
like they do.
Yeah, obviously if he had Gentle Megasaur as well and you got the Adapt. This is pretty self-explanatory here for TingTing. 20 damage over 2 turns.
Seems good.
And Mysterious only has that 1 charge to get him up to 9 HP. So I think, yeah, he knows it. We know it. Twitch chat knows it. That was pretty good. Sealed game there for TingTing. Yep,
TingTing taking the victory with the Mage. And the Mage has just proven to be an absolutely phenomenal class since this expansion. Everyone was kind of trying and testing with this Control variant or Discover variant that you want to call it, but now so many pro players have been trying it, it seems to finally have found its footing, and it's one of the best decks out there, and it's very fun to play, to be honest.
The Gunther Mage, I think it's sort of the Gunther Mage that we were all sort of looking at. It's so adaptable. That's what I think what makes it so good, is it has so many ways at dealing with threats to it, that it has then got multiple win conditions and multiple outs as well. Like you said, you can play the aggressive early start with the Mana Worm, you can play the Freeze Mage with the Alexstrasza, or you can just play the straight up value game when you've got the Discovers. Some people even run Kabbalist Tomes in their versions as well. You know, you can straight up outvalue your opponent in that some cases as well. Obviously it has its bad matchups. You put it up against the Pirate Warrior.
Starting an Eminem rap
right now. Yeah, I know, right. Put it up against the Pirate Warrior, it's probably going to fare pretty badly unless it literally has like double Volcanic Potion and starts having Frostbolts in opening hands and everything. But, you know, you probably give it the advantage over to the Pirate Warrior there. But it's so adaptable, and that's what makes it so good. And it had so much success at DreamHack as well. Tempo Storm, I believe, all brought it, and they all got like top 8 finishes, right? Yeah. I think every member of Tempo Storm made it to top 8.
And it was last hero standing as well. So even if you won one, you're still playing with it, and they were 3-0ing people with that Mage. So it's going to be Mysterious now moving over and playing the Mage, and TingTing playing on the Paladin. So a reverse matchup here. Can TingTing do any better? A Forbidden Healing is going to be included into the deck, which could be very valuable when we get to the later stages of this game. But I have a feeling he's going to start searching for some of that early game. It might not even be Murloc Paladin. I have seen a variant of mid-range Paladin that isn't even really running the Murloc package. Yes, okay, it might be running the 2-drop that gives you a secret as well, just because of the sheer value that comes out of that. But it looks like he's going to mulligan away just the Forbidden Healing and keep the Stonehill Defender and Wickerflame.
That makes me think that maybe he's not running a huge Murloc package in this deck. Maybe this is just that mid-range that you were talking about that doesn't run Murlocs, and I think that could definitely be the case here.
I think I would still run Hydrologist.
I like Hydrologist. I think it's really, really good, so I probably would still run Hydrologist. I think it's the only Murloc I would run if I'm running this style of non-Murloc Paladin deck, though. I
guess if you are running one Hydrologist, do you still run maybe a War Leader and a Bluegill Warrior as well?
Do they run Bluegill Warrior anyway? I'm not sure they run Bluegill Warrior these days. The aggressive variants definitely do.
Yeah. Well, there's one. There is the Hydrologist. I think, as I said, it's just got so much value, and coming out at the perfect time for TingTing as well, where Mysterious really struggled with his Paladin. He couldn't get that early threat. He was doing nothing until really turn 3, whereas TingTing is able to get some real value on the board to try and contest the 2 Mana Worms.
This is an interesting decision, by the way. Noble Sacrifice helps you contest straight away, but we've seen time and time again how useful Eye for an Eye can be into mage matchups when they've got the ice block up. So, you know, you could be saying maybe I play the longer game where he tries to Pyroblast my face and ends up killing him on his turn. But I think he's more concerned with these double Mana Worms right now and needs to deal with them ASAP. So has that Noble Sacrifice on hand. Probably going to see him coin out a True Silver here just to start dealing with them.
And I believe that he would have taken Eye for an Eye if this was just against Freeze Mage.
Yeah.
But the fact that these Mana Worms can really just run out of control, because this Gunther Mage does have such early threats. You've got those minions that you can play onto the board, and we can see them all in Mysterious's hand as well. He's got the Alexstrasza for later now. Really, for Mysterious, he just plays minion after minion and just asks a question of TingTing, how are you going to remove it? It means that you're not building a board of your own. But I believe he is playing against kind of a later game variant of TingTing, unless we see suddenly loads of Murlocs being drawn, but we will see.
I think TingTing's probably slightly favoured with the Forbidden Healing here as well. Helps him deal with the post-Alexstrasza phase. You know, there isn't that much burn. It's not like the old Freeze Mage that could 30-0 you in one turn. You know, if you're running that amount of healing and you've got Gluttonous Ooze in there, which is probably not going to be so useful against Mysterious unless he's running Medivh. You know, there is probably giving him a slightly favoured matchup than the reverse that we saw last time, because he has those kind of tech cards in, that Forbidden Healing. Who else, you know, what else could he be running? Could he be running Ivory Knight, given the fact he's probably not running the Murloc package, or that's what we're assuming here? You know, is he going to be running more later game healing things like Lay on Hands, like Ivory Knight? That's what I'm really interested to look at.
And if he is, what's going to be key for Mysterious is from the couriers, from the battling books, to try and find more burn spells, try and find them from the glyphs, just that extra damage that can go to the face of TingTing, or put TingTing in a position where he hasn't yet drawn Forbidden Healing, for example. That may be where Mysterious has to go down. He won't be expecting Forbidden Healing, or at least he won't be really thinking about it. He might consider it a possibility. It's definitely not something that's been overplayed by many people with Paladin at the moment.
I like this from Mysterious. Played around specifically the Noble Sacrifice. Chooses not to attack with his Mana Worm either, to know that next turn he can use Medivh's Valet and then start to actually just have 2 minions on board. Even at 1 health, requires some sort of answer from the Paladin. So I really like that from him. Also tested for Getaway Coda as well, just to make sure that he absolutely knew which secret was on board.
Abomination could be another interesting choice here for TingTing.
Sure.
Something else that could get through that pesky ice block if it's killed on the opposition turn. So
I quite like Abomination as well, given the state of the board.
Options.
Deals with a lot.
I think if I was going to take Abomination, I would save it as an out later to get through ice block.
Yeah, I think that's potentially true.
It looks like TingTing's not going to go down that line of play. Instead takes Senjin. And now we'll look for more secrets as well.
Getaway Kodo seems good here, especially if he doesn't deal with this taunt on his next turn. But we know that Mysterious has got options in hand right now.
I think I like Courier here. Just start looking for something a little bit different.
Yeah, I don't think you need to waste any of your big burn spells. You've got a 1/4 and a 2/2 on board. It's not that hugely threatening. Flame Strike seems pretty good. Cho'Gall also potentially just have a 7/7. Holy Smite less so, but Flame Strike seems like the obvious choice, just because it helps you deal with whatever could come your way in the next few turns. But Cho'Gall allows you to play that and then a Fireball on the same turn and have a 7/7. So I think both warrant some thinking about. Holy Smite you probably discount, even though it might be useful this turn.
Cho'Gall is the decision. Holy Smite could have helped out later on, as I said, just for that extra damage that he is potentially looking for. But he won't be too worried. He won't be thinking about the Forbidden Healing. So Cho'Gall's the decision. Interesting one. Obviously, we'd want to play it sooner rather than later, because you don't want to be decreasing your life total when you have an Ice Block in play, of course.
Is that a Nesting Rock? That
is
a Nesting Rock, and he has got the value for it this turn. Got plenty of options, though. You've got the likes of Sunkeeper, but I feel like when I've got my, you know, Ball Control, when he was sort of teaching me how to play a while back, when I was learning Halfdan, always said, you've got a yellow card, Kenan. Play the yellow card.
It's a good rule of thumb. Yellow card means it does something good. I don't think I like Sunkeeper Tarim.
No, I think it's almost playing it onto a worse board state.
Yeah.
I like
Rock it's just got too much value, and then you've got Getaway Kodo to follow. So if that...
You generate another Nesting Rock.
Nesting Rock.
You could also start to deal with the board outright and play the True Silver and then potentially Wicker Flame. No, you don't have that mana, but you're just going to Hero Power off.
So just trying to gain as much of a board presence as possible at the moment. Doesn't think Nesting Rock is important. Now, instead we'll just...
The fire, right? So you played Nesting Rock and then it got fireballed and pinged. You still have a 4/1 board.
I mean, it doesn't mean that you can kind of waste one of their fireballs.
True.
If you can bait out a fireball, that's going to be fantastic, especially when you know you've got Forbidden Healing in deck as well. Now for Mysterious, he's of course got that Cho'Gall from the Courier. Looks like the only real play at the moment. You could play Cho'Gall into Volcanic Potion, but then you're making him a 7/5.
Yeah, you could just play Volcanic Potion and then ping, but then again, that's slow, and that seems to be playing towards what TingTing wants, which is the slower-paced game. I mean, you look at how many cards TingTing's got in hand right now, sitting on 7. Looks like he's going to take the 7-5 play.
But 7-5 is still scary. Still something that TingTing has to deal with, but we know that Outdoor Peacekeeper can very comfortably sort this one out.
Absolutely. And you have answers like Sunkeeper Tariff for Alexstrasza regardless.
And slowly but surely, Mysterious's hand is depleting. Yes, okay, turn 9, Alexstrasza, then a couple of fireballs to follow. However, if TingTing has drawn that Forbidden Healing by the time that happens, if Alexstrasza comes down, Forbidden Healing comes through, and TingTing has a board to work with as well, he will be in an extremely comfortable position. Sunkeeper Tarim is the decision to clean up this Cho'Gath instead of using the Outdoor Peacekeeper.
So, as it stands right now, Mysterious looks like he's in a bad position. However, he's got Alexstrasza and 2 fireballs in hand, and we have yet just seen the last bit of healing that TingTing currently has in his own hand right now as well. So there is still a world where Frostbolt can come off the top next 2 turns, and Mysterious might actually just have that old classic Freeze Mage wombo combo, Alexstrasza double fireball Frostbolt.
Would have been even better if he had found a Frostbolt off this, but
sure.
Instead, not fantastic choices. Cone of Cold could have maybe come in handy.
That's good to play this turn, though.
Potion of Polymorph into something like Tyrion on turn 8.
Exactly, yeah. It's a really good play into something like Tyrion. And that's generally what you expect a Paladin to play on turn 8, so the way that you prepare for Tyrion on turn 8. And Potion of Polymorph, whilst it's a pretty bad card in general, if you play it on turn 8 versus Paladin, you know, 99 times out of 100, you're going to get value of it polymorphing a Tyrion.
Instead, it just polymorphs an Acolyte of Pain. It means no card draw for TingTing, but I don't think he's going to be too worried about that at the moment, as his hand is aplenty. Wickerflame will come down now. And perhaps this is the Alexstrasza turn for Mysterious. And as you said, if a Frostbolt does follow, and TingTing has yet to find any healing that is in his deck, because we know it's in his deck, then this could get quite ugly for Mr. TingTing.
There is Wickerflame Dongadoo.
Yep, of course he can put you up to 17.
Put you up to 17, but we can see Mysterious has now got Burn over turns, and if he starts drawing Burn again off the next few draws, puts him in a pretty comfortable position.
Thankfully, the Peacekeeper's there. I think if the Peacekeeper wasn't there, then this turn becomes pretty awkward, and TingTing's thinking, oh god, this is getting worse, but Peacekeeper allows this to be a very comfortable turn. And
actually, TingTing can play the game of Peacekeeper, then just keep trading Wickerflame into it over a number of turns to generate him health back, and actually ignore Alexstrasza for the most part with the rest of the minions. That gives him some healing that he can try and use turn after turn, and I quite like that as a potential game plan, because you need some form of healing now versus this mage. You assume that what he's got in hand is Burn. You have to assume that. So if I were TingTing, I'd trade Wickerflame in, then just go face with everything else. Or even just go... Actually, Wickerflame gets health back when you go face, right? So, yeah, you could just...
No, I was going to say, but you got there in the end. So
yeah, sorry, my bad. I just thought it was for some...
But yeah, he will still get the value by hitting face.
Not only do I not remember the card name, also don't remember exactly what it does sometimes. But yeah, you're right. It will just keep going face. And that now actually raises the question for Mysterious. Does he have to, like, ping and then Firelens portal this? Or can he just say, okay, 2 health per turn, not that big of a deal, double fireball face with Blood Mage down, double fireball face, and then try and win with the Firelens portal next turn?
I prefer Firelens portal here, I think, just because you've got some minion generation that then TingTing might have to consider about trying to get through.
Yeah.
Big Game Hunter is not going to be the best 5-drop that I've ever seen, but I guess it's still something that TingTing has to think about.
Now, he's only going to be able to get 2 health from Wickerflame. So...
Thalnos plus double fireball.
Exactly. So he's going to maximum get to... Oh, there we go. But...
Oh.
I thought maybe he was running Ivory Knight. I thought potentially, given this looked like a later game with the Forbidden Healing, and that's going to throw a massive spanner in the works of Mysterious. Unless these are basically all
Dino
one-drops.
size.
Oh, it's Dino size as well. You take Dino size every time.
Of course you do. And Mysterious's eyes, they roll to the back of his head. He says, oh, for goodness sake, who runs Ivory Knight in 2017? Well, TingTing does. And that should be enough to grab him the victory in this game. Of course, there are still possibilities for Mysterious, but it's not going to be easy.
Well, I mean, Thalnos double fireball into Pyroblast. Do you think that's the only thing we see here. Thanos double fireball, then hope that you draw Pyroblast at the top, hope that he doesn't have any more healing. I think that's the only out that you've got, right?
Looks like that's what he's going to be thinking.
Oh, that feels bad, man, because it looked like Mysterious had managed to set it up for lethal.
I mean, he does get 2 draws for it because
he gets Thanos
with the
as well.
Thanos going down, so there is a.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Dynasize onto Wicker Flame. So.
Oh my god. I didn't even see that. That's absolutely massive.
Completely overlooked that as well. I thought that maybe it was still right in Mysterious's eyes that was it was still right in Mysterious' eyes that was probably his only out, but that's now essentially nailed Mysterious's win. 6 feet under. This is TingTing's, and there's nothing I don't think that Mysterious can pull off the top.
I just didn't even take Dynasize into consideration. I was thinking, yeah, cool, 8 health, we'll worry about that later. You don't even need to use that card because you've got enough damage on board. But onto Wicker Flame is just a game-winning play.
And actually, Mysterious probably couldn't have invested that Firelands Portal into dealing with Wicker Flame that turn earlier, like we said about, because it meant that he would never have had the win condition of the burn to face. So Mysterious actually, I think, played the correct line of play, but TingTing just has a lot of healing here. Like we said, I think given that we saw the Forbidden Healing in the Mulligan, you assume that it's now a later focused mid-range Paladin, and like you said, not likely running the full Murloc package, gives it that favorable element versus this kind of burn mage that we've seen come through.
See, now Mysterious did opt just to search for more kind of answers. I would have even been tempted to Ice Block and then Frostbolt the Wicker Flame, just so that you can't get the healing out of it. But even then, I think you're still not going to be able to push enough damage. So the Ice Block still comes through. But Mysterious is just going to be pretty frustrated here.
Yeah. And then you're just generating 10 health every single turn. I think Mysterious's win conditions now are kind of gone. And that means Mysterious, he's just got the Warrior left, I believe.
Yep, Mysterious does have a Warrior left indeed, but the important thing is TingTing's just gone 2-0 up with a Paladin deck that made absolute work of a very popular Mage deck at the moment. And I feel like those teching decisions were made for that reason. He's saying, okay, so Gunther Mage is very popular, very hot right now.
Yeah.
Paladin, also one of the best decks. How can I just work around this? And I honestly feel like he targeted that deck.
Yeah, no, well, given that we've seen the success of that particular Mage deck come through in tournaments over the last weekend, and so it's very sensible to alter your list to say, okay, well, this is a control-heavy meta, like you said. There's a lot of freeze and burn mage coming out. We've seen that from time to time. How can I make my Paladin list kind of favored in these particular ways? Well, he's made it a very value-heavy, control-based Paladin. It's probably why you saw that N'Zoth Paladin do so well at DreamHack. It was like, I think it was running Forbidden Healings and things like that. So it gave it that element of strength versus these burn mages. It gave it that control win condition as well. I think it's a very sensible move from TingTing.
And I'll give credit to TingTing as well. I know the Dino Size onto Wicker Flame looks like a very simple play when you're watching from home. I mean, I missed it because I was going down the thought process of, okay, yes, that's just 8 healing.
Yeah.
We saw Just Saying at DreamHack miss a very simple lethal with double Feral Rage because he was down the thought process of, this is going to heal me up. And you've really got to be in the right state of mind to know what you're going for. So credit to TingTing to just be looking at every single option and considering all of his plays. Now Mysterious is going to try and get a win with this Gunther Mage, but he's going to be going up against TingTing's Druid, which also famously does very well against Mage because it has so much armor generation. Earthen Scales is something that has really helped favor this matchup. Feral Rage was always big, but now you can just generate absolute tons of armor.
Yeah, and absolutely, especially when you go down the line of those Jades getting up to 9, 10 HP. Then you use Earthen Scales. It's insane how much armor you can get back from it. Double Feral Rage in the back as well. It's like those pseudo-healing techniques that the Druid brings, gives it that element of favorability. But, Mysterious, he's got the Mana Worm on board already. You can see he's got that Meteor in hand. He has got some early game here to start to put pressure on this Jade Druid. And maybe that's where he finds some win element here when going up against TingTing.
It is doable. We saw George C in the global games very nearly and having a 1 in 3 to actually take down a Druid that had generated, I think, 36 armor.
Wow.
And I believe he was playing just Freeze Mage. Correct me if I'm wrong, he may have been playing the Gunther variant. But
Come on,
either way,
it's George C. He plays Freeze Mage, right?
Yeah. Either way, the fact he was able to get through so much armor because he had picked up all those burn spells from things like Glyph. So it is doable. Of course, it's not a favored matchup. And Mysterious is still going to try his hand. If he doesn't manage to take down TingTing here, TingTing will be moving on to the winner's bracket semi-finals, and Mysterious dropping to the loser's bracket.
TingTing's hand doesn't look incredible. He does have answers to the Mana Worm in the form of the Wrath. Gadgets and Auctioneer is obviously a potential use next turn with the double Innovate. Obviously generate some draws, start to use that excess mana that you get from the Innovate for something too. But I think he's likely to want to hold on to it this time round. Doesn't want to waste an Innovate to get the Gadgets and Auctioneer out, would rather probably get the value from it next turn. And actually going for the Feral Rage this time round, I guess because Wrath is so valuable as a double draw technique with the Innovate and the Gadgets and Auctioneer as well, or just straight up dealing with a minion next turn as well.
And of course, before Earthen Scales, with that play, you'd be like, oh, I really don't want to be wasting this extra 8 armor, which is so good against Mage. But just knowing you have a possibility of generating an unreal amount later on allows you to make such an easy decision there.
Absolutely.
As you said, very comfortable next play for TingTing, just being able to generate a lot of card draw. But Mysterious is going to try and do what he can to gain a little bit of board here.
There's the Jade Idol. Now we're going to start to see Gadgets and Auctioneer do Gadgets and Auctioneer things. Probably see the Wrath, I guess, and trade in with the 1/1 now that was Mirror Entity. But he's going to get the double Innovate out first, then he has the mana to decide what he wants to do.
Yeah, I'd definitely get rid of the Auctioneer. You don't want to allow the Mage just to be generating spell after spell and pulling plenty of cards. But a very solid turn now for TingTing.
I guess the thought is, yeah, he is going to use the Earthen Scales now just to get the draw. Pulls Nourish off the top, so he's going to be able to generate more cards later on as well.
And I suppose not only does it generate the draw, but it encourages Mysterious to use a ping if he wants to take down this Auctioneer comfortably from board, from at least what TingTing can see. And Meteor, though, is an easier way to deal with it, which TingTing probably wouldn't have been expecting, but knows it is definitely a possibility. But now we can just continue to put Jades on the board. And this is something that Mysterious is either going to have to get to a point and say, oh, I need to ignore what's on the board and go for a certain style of game plan here, which is just freeze and go face. But he needs those freeze mechanics to do so.
Also, you've just seen 2 armor mechanics used. You've seen 1 Feral Rage and 1 Earthen Scales. That kind of makes your game plan with the Pyroblast, the Fireball in hand, makes it maybe more viable to consider that face strategy, play for the Alexstrasza here, and maybe just do your best to ignore. Because I think at this point, you are going to be running along the lines of, I actually don't contest board anymore. That's, you know, you've lost your Mana Worms. You've got a 2/3 and a 2/3 on a board, and already you're now hitting 4/4 Jade Idols when the next Jade Idol comes through. I think you have to consider the fact that you no longer play the board control game. You're probably saying, I've seen 2 armor generation spells. Now I'm going to work towards the face game, because you're now trying to contest a Jade Druid, which is just going to generate infinite threats.
Which is something that he would have had to have been considering. Instead, he will use the Fireball to take down the Behemoth and just try and keep as much pressure on as possible for TingTing. But it's certainly not comfortable at the moment for Mysterious.
So he kind of played half and half here. One of the good ways to try and contest Druid is the fact that they don't deal with wide boards very well. So you get rid of the Taunt with the Fireball and start jamming damage face, because you think that maybe over time you're going to get more damage to face with your minions on board going wide than potentially you would with just straight up saving the Fireball. But another Behemoth off the top here is going to be very difficult for Mysterious to deal with. He doesn't really have the tools in hand to do so. And actually, this turn looks pretty dire for him. Yeah,
the Behemoths just get in the way. They're such a frustrating card to be playing against. I think if Mysterious had Alexstrasza in hand, then his line of play would have been so much different. Instead, you can only play what is in front of you. And at the moment, it's just dealing with the bombardment of Jades that are being put on the board turn after turn. Wild Growth not going to help out at the moment, but the Nourish will provide more card draw for TingTing.
He's also got the Primordial Drake as well, Dan, and that's going to make it even more frustrating for Mysterious, who was attempting to go wide. So there was always the answers there for TingTing. Another Jade Spirit comes down, another Jade Idol gets generated. or Jade Golem rather, and I think again Mysterious fast running out of potential win conditions. No Alexstrasza, only the Pyroblast in hand, which you really want to save for going face. At this point in time, Mysterious might even be tempted to say, all right, throw any spell that I get face and hope that I can win with Pyroblast.
Whereas in TingTing's position, he doesn't know what Mysterious is holding. If he thinks it's an Alexstrasza plus Fireball and Frostbolt, then this is a bit of a sticky situation. So he's drawing cards and he's hoping for a little bit more of the armor gain. There should be another Feral Rage, there should be another Earthen Scales to help out. But Mysterious not drawing Alexstrasza yet still makes this extremely uncomfortable for him. There's some damage that could go to his face, Kinnan. It's a Medivh's Valet, but it's only 3. I think he will be tempted to use it just to clean up the board instead. And slowly but surely, he's running out of anything to play in his hand.
I think what he is doing now, however, is buying more time for him to generate more burn. I can't see any other win conditions left for him. I think the burn is all he's got. So what this is, I guess, said is that I'm now buying myself time to draw more. Maybe I draw into an Arcane Intellect. Maybe I get, if I'm running Acolyte of Pains, potentially get some more card draw off that. But right now, the ball firmly in TingTing's court, and Mysterious is left without a racket.
Hate it when that happens.
I hate it when I'm playing tennis and
Just
don't have a racket.
No racket. And you're like, you got to go home and get it, and you've already lost the match by then. Primordial Drake can't come down just because of the health of the minions from TingTing at the moment. I hate it when that happens. It happens quite a lot. You just find yourself killing your own minions if you want to put down that big 4-8 taunt. Thankfully, there are a few other options for him. Could use the swipe to take down Medivh's Valet here if he wants to just keep this pressure up with the board.
Do you just value that as direct face damage? I think there's two arguments. You say, I don't want to trade one of my minions in because they can generate damage over turns. The other argument is if things start getting frozen, then I at least have a way to potentially proc Ice Block down the road. But TingTing very happy to just keep his board wide, start putting pressure on Mysterious again. And Mysterious, Cabal Courier could potentially pull something of value here. We'll have to see.
Nothing of crazy value.
Pyros' value, but I
guess over a lot of time. It's not quite a J generation turn after turn, is it?
No,
Eventually you'll end up with a 10-10, but by that time they've probably got 15-15s on the board. Mortal Coil will allow him to draw a little bit more. That's all he can do. Draw, search for some form of answer. An answer that doesn't seem to be coming, and slowly is seeing Mysterious slip ever closer to this loser bracket and TingTing moving forward.
You could here jam Jade Behemoth face and play Primordial Drake and save your swipe, or you could swipe yet again, deals with these two, keep your board wide.
Or you could just go face with everything, pop the block.
You could. I forgot about that.
That seems
like a good play, Dan.
Seems like a good play.
I like popping Ice Block.
I like popping blocks. That's my favourite forte.
Is that something you do often?
Oh yeah. They nicknamed me the block popper at school.
The block popper?
Mm-hmm.
How'd you get that one?
You don't want to know. Shapeshifts come through just to try and generate a little bit more armor in case anything crazy and unexpected is going to come from Mysterious's hand, but we know that that's not going to happen.
TingTing's making the decision whether he actually wants to trade into this 2-1 or not. I don't think you do. No, I think you just save the armor and you say, well, I'll make it as hard for him to sort of burn me as possible. There is still potential here for Mysterious. He's got a Fireball in hand, he's got an Ice Block and a Pyroblast, so maybe he gets damage down and potentially finds some crazy win condition. I don't think he's got enough damage, though, unfortunately.
Babbling Book into another Ice Block is a possible out for Mysterious. Cabal Courier into another Ice Block.
I think Earthen Scales is going to firmly shove its scaly, armored foot down onto that potential win condition for Mysterious of having any way of burning face.
Yeah. I think so too, although... Okay, interesting. Would you not have played the Earthen Scales? Oh, no, I suppose it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because it's based on the attack.
Yeah, based on the attack.
Yeah.
But as you said, yeah, the foot will firmly come down. There's Alexstrasza just a little bit too late as well. Can't help him healing himself up, and it's not going to have any value onto his opponent. So TingTing will win the first series of the day 3-0 and will advance into the semi-finals of the bracket. Commiserations to Mysterious, who does fall to the losers bracket, joining Hello Leroy there in the losers bracket as well. But just fantastic play from TingTing and good deck choices. I think he brought a lineup that defeated Gunther Mage.
I think he brought a lineup that